I remembered to push the button. There we go. Declarations page. This is going to be, I would say 50% of the time, if someone is calling into your office, they are asking for a deck page. It is declaring what the coverages are, how much coverage A we have on that house. If we've got a $500,000 home, we're not going to want to cover it for 250. We want to make sure if it goes up in smoke, we've got the right amount of coverage. So the deck page is going to break down what is dwelling coverage A, how much if there's a fire, what is my loss of use, how much money do I have if I need to go to a hotel. My brother's a great example of this one. He's got a ton of teenagers, a whole mess of teenagers. There was a leak in the basement and nobody told their dad. So by the time he made a claim, they were already stuck. They were in a hotel for a month. It was a whole thing, but that was their loss of use, hotel stay accommodations. Declarations page is also going to tell you how much personal property. So all the way from bobby pins to appliances, anything that they own, that's going to need to be replaced too. So your deck page declares everything that company is going to cover and what that policy is good for. Good stuff. So I have an incoming call. Amy, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm excited for this. All right. Thank you so much for calling ABC Insurance Company. This is Mary. How can I help you today?
Hi, Mary. My name's Amy, and I'm calling because I just bought a new car and I need to insure it.
Congratulations. Are you at the dealership now?
I am not.
Okay. So is this your first vehicle or do you have another vehicle as well?
I have another vehicle as well.
Beautiful. And my reason for asking you that, Amy, is because I'm always keeping an eye out on discounts and programs for you. When we write more than one vehicle, that is called a multi-vehicle discount. So I'll keep my eyes out for that. Let's go ahead and grab the year, make, and model of the vehicle you just purchased.
Okay. It's a 2020 Acura ILX.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And are you getting financing on that vehicle or purchasing outright?
Purchasing outright.
Oh, good for you. Fantastic. Okay. So no bank loan. Now, are you going to want full coverage on this vehicle? We talking
Yes.
liability? Okay.
Yes, please.
And I would recommend that. It is a newer car. If something were to happen, we don't want you to lose your investment. Okay. And then just a few clicks of a button. Again, I'm going to keep my eyes out for discounts for you. What's your second vehicle?
It is an older car. It's an '05 Honda Accord EX.
And those Accords will run forever if you're taking good care. So
This is a real car. I still try.
I'm actually good for you. EX. Now, okay, so did you purchase this vehicle new?
I did.
You did. So it's a
Brand
family
new.
member.
Yes.
Do you want
It's a part of
liability?
me.
It is, I bet. Absolutely. It's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Now, are you wanting full coverage on this one or just liability?
No, just liability.
Okay. So definitely appreciate that. Amy, I'm going to go ahead and start with collecting information. We're going to create a profile for you. Okay.
Okay.
And Amy, you can make this up. Can I
Okay.
get your first and last name, please?
First and last name.
Do I
Make it
have
up.
your first name?
It's Amy Conrad.
There we go. Amy, let's go ahead and grab your address.
Sure. 555
Mhm.
Smith Drive.
Fantastic. Okay.
And
And then do you rent, own, or live with family?
I rent.
Rent. Beautiful. Now, out of curiosity, who's your current carrier?
Um,
ABC.
it's sure ABC 123.
123. Okay, yeah, we've certainly heard of them. Thanks so much for thinking of us. So how can I ask how long have you been there?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. And what's got you calling today?
Just looking for better rates. Now that we bought the new car. Just
Yeah.
seeing what's out there.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. How did you find us?
Facebook.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we've been spending some time there for sure. All right. Now, traditionally, this call is going to take us 15 to 20. We're going to review eligibility and discuss driving history. Can I grab your date of birth?
Sure. 5/23, 1985.
Beautiful. That was a good year. Most certainly. All right. So now that we have your name, address, date of birth, I'm going to go ahead and ask you here in about 5 minutes. I'm going to collect your driver's license number. Are you the only driver in your household?
I am not.
Okay. And who's the other driver?
My husband.
Beautiful. So at this point, I'm going to ask for his first and last name. You can make it up.
Philip Conrad.
I love it. Philip Conrad. And let's go ahead and get our fake date of birth.
Let's see, we could do 10/3/1975.
You got it. Also a good year. Very good. So if you wouldn't mind, just for prep purposes, I'm all about time management. If you don't mind getting those driver's license numbers, we're going to be on that page here in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to load up some systems in the meantime, and we're going to meet right back here. Now, at this point, I don't put my customer on hold at all. If they would like to speak, I let them speak. I'll ask them questions. What are you doing this weekend, Amy?
Getting my house in order.
Boy, housekeeping, isn't that the thing?
Oh, yeah, it never ends.
Absolutely. So I actually have already put you through, it's called a peril-based risk tool. So I have already seen that you have come back eligible on the renter side. Has 123 Company covered your renter's policy?
Yes.
Okay, because again, I'm keeping my eyes out for discounts for you. And that one's called a multi-line. So we're going to tuck that in our back pocket. We'll revisit that one at the end. But really what I'm doing is multitasking the entire time to make sure I've got everything up and loaded and ready to roll so that all I have to do is put in her personal property. All right, so systems are loaded. I have both of your vehicles in. Now we're going to pop over and discuss eligibility. Do we have any losses or claims, any tickets or accidents, major violations or DUIs?
I was in a not at fault accident. It was not my fault.
Not your fault.
Few
Can I get
months
some
ago.
more details?
Driver hit me from behind
Okay, so he ran
at a
into you.
high rate of speed.
Were you hurt at all?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Can I ask how long ago that was?
December.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, fortunately, he hit you. You are not at fault. I am sorry that you were hurt, but the fortunate thing is it's not going to count against you. So
Right.
we'll go ahead and note that for you, but it won't count against you. You're not considered at fault there. I like to pop over once we've got our systems up and loaded. We've got our vehicles in. We've got our eligibility clear. Motor vehicle at this point is going to be running in the background. Now, the entire time I am multitasking with multiple screens, they don't even know the magic that happens in the background, right? So we're going to pop over to coverages. Home renters is still running. It's still going to do its thing. I'm going to click a box every couple of seconds just to keep that moving so it doesn't time out on me. But now we're going to review coverages. So, Amy, I did hear you say you want full coverage on the 20 Acura. Would you also like full coverage on your Honda or liability only?
Just liability.
Liability, you got it. And it is an older vehicle. My purpose for asking that is because if you had to replace the vehicle, is it really worth the deductible? And the older the car, traditionally not. So as we go through liability, so state minimums, do you know where you're currently at? 100, 300?
We're 100, 300.
100, 300. And that's really a smart move, Amy, because traditionally state minimums are not going to cut it. I don't like to pick on Florida because it's near and dear to my heart, but I use that as an example. Florida is one where their state minimums are 10,000 per person, 20 per carload, right? So that's just really not enough. 100,000 on the other hand, if you're hitting a Tesla, you're going to have at least enough coverage to be able to take care of things. So we'll set up your liability 100,000 per person, 300,000 per carload per occurrence, and then 100,000 for property damage if you need to fix their car. Now I'm going to move over to uninsured motorist. This means somebody hit you and they did not have the right insurance. Uninsured means they didn't have it at all. Underinsured means maybe they were in Florida, they didn't have enough. So I'm going to match your uninsured to your liability. Is that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Because whatever we do for the other guy, we want to make sure we're doing for you. So that is what I like to call the sandwich side. That's going to be your bread of your sandwich, your liability and your uninsured motorist. Now we're going for the meat and the potatoes. This is our comp and collision. And again, I think of these guys like brothers. Comp minds all of his own business and things happen to him. Collision doesn't mind anyone's business, and he does things. Do you know where you like your deductibles set?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Sometimes I hear 500, sometimes I hear 1,000, but just like a teeter-totter, it's going to adjust your premium. And traditionally, we match it up with whatever you're comfortable with pulling out of the bank if a tree falls on your car. Where would you be most comfortable?
Probably the 1,000.
1,000. You got it. Yeah, and that'll keep your premium a little bit lower. So we'll set that up at 1,000 for you. So now that we have the base of our policy, again, liability, uninsured motorist, and full coverage, now we're going to head over for our sides. We're going to do our add-ons, so to speak. And I may or may not say those things to the customer, but I let them know that the primary part of this policy is finished. Amy, are you going to be interested in car rental or roadside?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And we can leave those off for now. Absolutely. I like to shop like a personal shopper. I like to shop like it would be my policy. If I find that roadside is $1.71, is that something you might want to discuss?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So we'll set that aside. That'll be just kind of set aside at the moment. The other thing, our company offers something called death, dismemberment, loss of sight. It means quite literally you have lost use of vision, limb, or life. Is that something that you would be interested in? It's only 31 cents.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And the reason I'm going to focus on add-ons, friends, because we get paid, if you're at an agent's office, a percentage of commission. So even though it's just a couple of pennies, it all adds up at the end of the day. So if you can throw an add-on in there, be my guest. Go for it. All right. So Amy, I have our first quote available. As you asked, your one vehicle, the 2020 Honda Acura, this one is coming back at $133 a month. It's going to be $133 for you to have that fully covered. You do have a beautiful driving history. Again, thank you for thinking of us. Once we add the Honda on, it gives us that multi-vehicle discount, and it's only going to increase your premium by $67 a month. So now we're at $200. That's going to be your premium. In most cases, I have also found when you bundle a renter's policy, the cost of the thing ends up being less than the cost of the thing because of the discount. So your renter's policy is coming back at $15 a month. However, it's going to give you a $20 discount. The only thing I need to know for you here, Amy, is where would you want your personal property at? If everything goes up in smoke, how much do we need to cut the check to replace everything?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. So how well, actually, at this point, I would have already Googled, I would have already looked up on Zillow how big the place is. So if we're talking a 3-bedroom house, we've got quite a few items. I'm certainly going to want to go no less than 40,000.
Yeah, probably it.
That's about right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's set you up at 40,000. I did originally quote you there at 25, so it's going to increase our premium to 17. You're still saving $3. So I've got that set for you. Now, another thing I like to keep in mind, when we increase our personal property, it will also increase our loss of use because loss of use is a percentage. So good stuff there. You got some more loss of use there. If something happens and something goes up in smoke. So now we're looking at 195. I am more than happy to process this policy for you unless you'd like me to adjust any of your coverages.
No, it sounds good.
Okay, Fantastic. So the next steps that we have, Amy, is I'm going to go ahead and get some systems loaded. We'll get everything set up into the billing system, and we only ask for that first month premium. So we'll ask you for the 195. My question now is going to be, do you want me to start you immediately, or do you want me to start you tomorrow?
Immediately.
Immediately. Okay. And then we're going to talk about how we cancel our old policy. So I'm pulling us into the billing screen. Are we going to be using credit, debit, checking?
Credit.
Credit. Fantastic. Getting everything transferred over. Traditionally, that's going to take me a couple of minutes. It can take a little bit of time, that finalization to get all the systems loaded and linked. This is another good place where you can ask them, what are we doing this weekend? What do you like to do for fun? Do we have any toys? Your boats, your firearms, your fishing poles. Maybe somebody belongs to a bowling league and they've got a priceless bowling ball, whatever it may be. I always like to ask for those little extras. And the reason is couple of reasons, is because one, we are the superheroes of indemnification. We want to make sure they're fully covered. Two, remember, if we're at the agent's office, we're going to get paid on commission. So any little thing that you can add on to it, again, being right, fair, and honest, you want to make sure it is something that they own. If they don't have ownership to it, it's not theirs and it cannot be insured. 3, it's good for retention. Retention. If you have, and they say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but that's not true in insurance. I know that if I could have my electricity, my water bill, and my gas bill all in the same place, boy, that would be easy on my budget. I like the fact that I can have that in insurance. If something happens to my ring, I'm overseas or something, I can still call the same place. It's no trouble at all. So I will offer that. I'll offer the add-ons, the extras. I'll do the research to find out what else do we have. Do we have an ATV or a golf cart? Amy, now that we are in the billing system, I'm going to ask, what day of the month is best for your billing cycle?
The 15th.
15th. I like to give that kind of freedom to the policyholders. It also backs up letting them know that we're on their side. We're there for them. So I've got that set up for the 15th of the month. Let's go ahead and get your credit card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, 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 blah. Very good. Do I have your permission to receive 195 today?
You do.
Beautiful. Now, the moment I push that button, we have received funds, which actually means that policy gets to go. It gets to start without receiving any money. In most cases, there are caveats. Without receiving money, there is no policy. There is no contract. So that is the literal exchange of funds. In most cases, that does have to happen. All right. So now that we've got everything processed, first thing I'm going to do for you, Amy, is get you your receipt so that you have proof of payment, so that you know the buttons were pushed, even though we know it probably already went to your phone. Now I'm going to go ahead and print up your declaration pages. These are going to declare what your coverages are and how you're protected. I also like to do this once I'm sending out emails, in the subject line, because you're going to get so many, and I try not to make a mess in your inbox. You're going to look for the subject line, auto this one smiley face. That way you know it's from me and not system generated. That is going to be your ID cards, your declaration page. That way you have it immediately. And I send it over in PDF format. So if you want to print it out, all good by us. You will get permanent cards in the mail in about a week or so. Next, I'm sending out your new renter's policy. Again, in the subject line, it's a grocery store, take what you want, leave the rest, but it works for me. In the subject line, it is going to say renters this one smiley face. So you know it is not system generated, it is directly from me. I am also going to get any apps that you may have agreed to. If you decided that you wanted to do the mobile tracker or whatever to save some money, some companies require you to carry it the life of the policy. Some companies will say 6 months is fine, 90 days is fine. Know your company and know your product. Because if you're putting Grandma Ethel on a tracker and she has to have it the whole time and loses her discount because she doesn't know how to operate, that's a problem. So again, know your customer and know your product. I know I got off topic there, which is why I take notes. You get me.
I get you. Yes.
So now that you have all of your documents, everything has been processed and the buttons are pushed. Amy, let's talk really quick about canceling your old policy. Have you ever canceled a policy before?
No, I have not.
Okay. So it really is a 3-step process. Step number 1, you're going to call them and say, today is my last day. They are going to say, may I ask why? And you are going to say, no, thank you. They are going to say, can I do a discount review? And you're going to say, no, thank you. They are going to say, blah, blah, blah. And you are going to say, no, thank you. So step 1, today is my last day. No, thank you. Step number 2, please issue my undue premium. If there are any days between, and I heard your billing cycle, Amy, is on the 15th. If there are any days between today and the 15th, that is not their money because those days have not happened yet. So you will receive a refund. So make sure to ask for that, and they will tell you right there on the phone how much that is going to be.
Okay.
I guess it's a 2-step process. Well, it could be a 3-step process. Today's my last day. No, thank you. Give me my money. So in not so many words,
It's a 3-step process if they want to argue with you and keep trying to get your business.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly right. But I always like to communicate those things to the customers because insurance is a highly regulated industry with a lot of moving parts. And so if we can zap the fear out of it, if we can let them know this will take blah, 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 if we can just get the info up front, the rest of that call is smooth sailing. Now, again, if you're able to collect that information via email, boy, oh boy, is that going to be much easier. However, not everybody has the luxury to do that. And if you're stuck, I wouldn't say stuck. If you are fortunate to be on the phone with Grandma Ethel for an hour and a half, but you're able to write 2 cars, a boat, a house, her jewelry, life insurance for the new grandbaby, whatever it takes. And I was sharing this just recently. A friend of my cousin's friend's grandma called in to the agency. She wanted to get a policy. She wanted me to quote her on it. No, she didn't. No, my cousin called into the agency asking if the friend could get a quote. And I ended up getting the phone number and we text. It was 147 text messages.
Wow.
And that's how we communicated.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly fine by me. But I find that phone calls tend to be the scariest.
Yeah.
Just because we get a little bit stuck and what's the next step. So the phone calls are what I like to zap. Emails are easy to navigate. All of us can text. I think all of us are master texters at this point.
Yes. Yes.
Zapping those calls.
I feel like the younger generation too, like they do everything like through text and like they rather not be on the phone or,
Right.
Like 20s, 30-year-olds. I don't know. I just feel like I noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
in my 40s. If I want to talk to somebody, I just pick up the phone and call them. I don't think anything of it. But now the new PC thing to do is to text first and get permission. That's new. You have to get permission to call your grandma? Like what?
Yeah, it's definitely different, but learning the ways, just more the technology was the younger generations. Like I look at my kids, my son's 23 and my daughter's 14, and it's like my daughter, her life is technology. Like it's crazy. Like it's just that's how they hang out with their friends, and it's weird. I'm just like, can we go back to like beepers? Like beep me if you need me.
Oh my goodness, isn't that the truth? Call back at this number. Yeah,
yeah,
like payphone.
Yeah, you'd go to the payphone and like, and you hung out with your friends and like, I don't know. It's so different. But
can you imagine how difficult insurance must have been 20 years ago?
Oh my God, I can't imagine. I don't think I'd want to touch it.
Right. Well, okay, in our industry, so after COVID, it crashed the amount of agents, the whole thing. Even though the industry is recession proof, everybody is going to need, well, I'm going to caveat, mostly recession proof. but a lot of agents had a hard time during COVID. So they went and they did something else. Now, and I Googled this, ZipRecruiter was reporting a 6% increase last year as far as agents and agents' offices, which also tells me between the increase in how many people are working in the industry and the increase of premiums that are happening, they are happening, and they're going to get worse. That means our inbound call flow is going to be a lot more. So just being prepared for that inbound call, who, what, when, where, why, and the same on the other side with who they're with. Why are they calling you? Did their premium increase? Because that's good for you.
Right. I did see a captive agent down the street. They had a whole house like rented and to one of the, insurance companies. And I just all of a sudden signs down, they're shut down, totally done.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see, I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of why I'm just going with an agency. I'd rather be able to like play around with different companies, and not be, just attached to one company, having to sell for one company.
Right.
So.
And you're right about that, because here's the other thing. If you are with a company that decides to increase their premium by 24%, and I'm not calling anybody out, okay, but this happened yesterday. If you are with a company that decides to increase their premiums and you're stuck selling one color of the rainbow, that's your job.
Right.
Right. So I would say if that is the case for any one of you, that you're with a company like that, learn everything you can, just like a grocery store. Learn everything you can, but get your resume ready, because honestly, this is a great industry. You are a commodity. You are not bound.
Right.
Even if you sign that non-compete, I did a video on this just the other day. Even if you sign the non-compete, maybe you didn't get to take your people with you, but the policies aren't eternal. I mean,
right.
they don't last forever. The non-competes, I think I'll have to do the research. I'm not going to say what I think the max is because I don't want to be wrong. But that would be a good thing for me to find out too. If you do end up signing a contract with a company, how long are you stuck? Because I signed a non-compete and I'm still bringing my people in and they're super happy. We're saving thousands all over the place.
Right. Right.
But it's because I can go shopping.
Right. Right.
So,
and I mean, even with non-competes, I mean, they're kind of hard. I know in the state of Connecticut, it's hard, with non-competes, because even my business, like, I can have people sign a non-compete with me. And when it comes to court, it's really hard to, like, I mean, how can you tell a customer if a customer decides to follow somebody, how can you tell them they can't? Just saying.
It's hard to enforce. And
yeah.
I think it's more of just a detour,
It tries to detour. Yes, correct. It tries to stop people from, competing, which I understand. Like, you wouldn't want to have an agency and then all of a sudden have someone working for you and all of a sudden decides to start their own agency and they take like a whole book of business.
Take your book.
I get that, like that's the reason why I had it in my business. Like when I had people working for me, because you don't want them to go under you. So you kind of scare your clients as well. Like if you end up hiring this person, you're going to owe me money as the business for all the training I trained them.
Right.
So you kind of scare it both. Yeah, that's what I did, because it's very easy for a cleaner to be like, hey, I can do this for you $50 cheaper.
Right.
Right. So yeah. So I get it.
I am so on board with you. So I worked at the largest jewelry outlet in the nation. I mean, the largest. They gave me President's Club. I sold $760,000 in bling. Want to buy a watch? You know what I'm saying? But when I left, I took with me my book. So when I went over to the other jewelry store, which was much more expensive, smaller company, I certainly cold called they weren't cold calls, they were my people, but I let them know this is where I went. In the insurance industry, and that's because the product was already sold.
Right.
I mean, I can't resell them the same ring, but in insurance, that's not the case. Like we're selling the same policy. So
right. Yeah. But that's why I'm making the choice to do things the way I'm doing them, because I don't know. It scares me to think to be stuck with one, like you said, color of the rainbow, like just, this is what I have to sell today and not giving people, I want to be able to give people options, what's good for one might not be good for the next. So
it sounds like you have a personal shopper mindset anyway.
I do. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, there was something you brought up that triggered a question. Trying to remember. I think it was Rowena that asked this question. How to find leads. I do believe it was you, and forgive me if I was wrong. How to find leads, how to generate your flow, your call flow, how to initiate that sort of thing. And we did discuss last night how to do that. We put out a whole playlist and even added to it. One thing that Lauren Phillips had mentioned was applying apps, all kinds of apps, the Nextdoor app, right? Oh, that's what it was. It triggered. So there was a comment actually earlier today where if she hadn't sold a policy all month, and if she didn't sell a policy, that she would lose her position. And that is one risk that you take when you're selling for one color of the rainbow, is if you do not sell the way they want, then it's ixnay in their agency, Whereas if you're independent or you're a brokerage or any number of those things, there are, again, thousands of opportunities and options and companies, and so many variables. But if you find yourself stuck in a position like that, just know you're a commodity. Like, go shopping. Yeah, because some companies run on metrics. They want to know, how long was that call? How long did you put them on hold? How many policies did you sell? What was your tone? This was another thing. At corporate, they actually had a tracker on what our tone looked like. Our numbers would go down if we used the word no or any negativity.
Who wants to work like that? I'd be an anxious mess. I'd be like, oh my goodness, did I say that wrong? Like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, right. Like, I wouldn't be able to say no thanks. Like, I would have to find another creative way, not today. That word not would drive down my metrics. So I had to rearrange. And again, I wasn't sitting at a call center where I could hear other people, or in an agent's office where I could get tips and advice. I just had to make it up based on their metrics, but it worked, and it's working now. Yeah, right.
Use it outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
And teach us.
Right. Honestly, I'm here to learn too, though. So I've been a few years in the industry. I've been in a couple of different places, which kind of gives me some experience to speak to it, but I'm still learning too. So Lauren gave me some great tips last night.
Yeah, she was good to talk to. Yeah.
For sure. And thank you so much for being there.
Yeah.
A lot more. I see, and I'm okay with small groups too. I'm still learning the systems, camera shy, that sort of thing. So thanks for being so gentle with me.
Yes, of course. I'm camera shy too. Like I said, I'm not used to all this.
Right.
Like it's, like I said, I learned to use Zoom during COVID just for a few little things, like through church and stuff, like nothing, business wise. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, but I guess getting used to this will help, with selling insurance.
It will. Because if you think about it, the insurance agents that do the best, they've got their face out there. They've got their name out there. They're not shy on social media. They, billboards on the side of the freeway kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know if I'm comfortable with a billboard just yet, but
no, I don't know about that. But hey, it's like one of my friends that I went to high school with. He's a real estate. He owns an agency for real estate, and he was, he's big, like just getting himself out there, of course, I'm going to connect with him as soon as I'm up and running. Like, hey, dude, throw me some business, I'll throw you some. But I have a friend that works for one of our local news stations, and she actually does the sales of, getting people's commercials and stuff. And so I connected them, and he signed on, and I'm just like, oh, I'm already networking. Like, this is the second person I got her. And that's like big, like News Channel 8, like big.
You should be like patting yourself. I'm patting you on the back right now. Wow.
Well, I'm like, okay, but see, it's all beforehand. And it's like, okay, now I can use this. Hey, guess what? I hooked you up. Throw me some business. You know what I mean? And I'll keep on doing it. And so I think you were saying someone was looking at how to find leads. Like, that's really what it's about. It's about networking. Like, I really believe in that overall. Like, you shouldn't have to pay anything, for leads.
I mean, you can, but the problem is you're going to end up with a book of cold calls that don't go anywhere. And I'm all about quality. I'm a time management girl.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not building or growing or making me money, I'm not interested.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
I'm
I
so
mean,
rgrateful. I'm so glad you're here.
yeah,
Rowena,
is it
thank you
it's
for
gonna
being
shut
here.
off on us.
It's going to. So I just wanted to ask, Wednesday, should we have another ice cream social?
Yeah, what time?
6 p.m. Arizona?
Okay, so that's what, 10 us? I think that's 10 o'clock us. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's kind of
I'm
late.
fine.
Okay.